order. This is the village board meeting, Tuesday, October 8th. We will all stand. We will say the pledge of allegiance. We'll have trustee Gaines, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee DeVivo? Present. Trustee Kajanis?
Present.
Trustee Stable?
Present.
Trustee Suisse? Present. Trustee Yukich?
Present.
Mayor Daley?
Present. Okay. Next portion of this meeting is going to be the Community and Nature and Harmony Awards. This is the 12th year of the Community and Nature and Harmony Awards ceremony. Tonight we gather to recognize those individuals and groups who have demonstrated a commitment to the environment and in the process have significantly contributed to the village of Homer Glen. So without further delay, I'll introduce Trustee Margaret Sabo to begin this year's awards program. Take it away, Margaret.
Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see a large crowd here, and it's always such a happy occasion. Welcome to the celebration of Homer Glen Lands Day, which is celebrated in conjunction with National Public Lands Day. This important day is set aside to show support for recognizing and protecting significant areas in the natural environment. The village proclamation written for this special day in 2001 states, "The village of Homer Glen was founded and incorporated in large part due to the desires of its citizens to preserve the unique and diverse components of the natural environment within the village, and to take steps to assist the further protection and beautification of that environment." Through the efforts of the Environment Committee, the village created the Community and Nature and Harmony Award in 2002. Now in 2013, the 12th year for the awards, the village again recognizes individuals, businesses, community organizations, and governmental agencies that have demonstrated a commitment to the environment and in the process significantly contributed to community pride through the preservation, restoration, and/or beautification of land within the village of Homer Glen. The tree planting ceremony, another activity of Homer Glen Lands Day, has been scheduled to take place on Friday, October 25th, when the Homer Glen Environment Committee will be coordinating the planting of a tree at the Homer Township Library property. Rick Gomez of Instant Shade Tree Planting, Inc. will be donating his services and demonstrating how a large tree is planted with the aid of modern equipment. At this time, during the awards recognition, we are honored to have the assistance of our Homer Glen Mayor, Jim Daly, who will assist in presenting the certificates to individuals and groups. All members of the Environment Committee, please take your places. Sue Stylen, Cynthia Rattay, Kathy Kudla, Sharon Suisse, Bob Moses, Randy Juris, Gary White, Hirsch Collins, and Kathy Rear. Sue Stylen, please come forward. Environment Committee member Sue Stylen will announce the award recipients. Sue will also explain the procedure for taking photographs and group photographs, and these photographs will be available for viewing on the Homer Glen website. Sue Stylen. Thank you.
On behalf of the Community and Nature and Harmony Award Committee, once again, I would like to say it has been a pleasure to review the nominations and to see the wonderful projects that people do in our community. We have 15 projects that are receiving awards this year. To help move things along, I'm going to ask that you come forward as I read your name, and you're going to proceed to Kathy and the mayor. They're going to hand you the certificate, and you'll have your picture taken with the mayor, and then you will have a seat. And then after the award presentation is over, I ask that you stay for a few extra minutes, and we're going to do some group photos. And on the back of your frame, there is a number with the group number that you will be in. The award recognizes individuals, businesses, and organizations. We would like to begin by recognizing businesses first, Garden Patch Farms. For introducing, come on up, Tony Nodoka and Alexandra Miller. For introducing children to the wonders of butterflies through their inaugural butterfly release party on June 1st. New Way Disposal Services, for using clean burning compressed natural gas to fuel their fleet and providing services and support to programs that improve the environment of Homer Glen. Accepting the award is Tom Agama. This next group is Girl Scout Troop 681. They've helped the Environment Committee several years in doing this. So I ask that they come up. Several of the girls are in college this year, so they're not able to attend. Accepting the award will be Lisa Johnson, group leader, Krista Weisenflug, group leader, and Sandra Hansen. This is for their efforts in promoting environmental awareness by distributing Earth Day, Arbor Day posters, and flyers throughout the village. And the Boy Scouts have been busy as well. The following Boy Scouts have enhanced our community through their Eagle Scout projects. Peter Mitchell, for directing a project of adding handicap benches, power washing, and polishing concrete surfaces, and installing a sidewalk that beautifies and provides easy access to the patio at Shady Oaks Camp. Come on, Peter. Oh, Peter's not here. I'm sorry, that's on my list. Okay, I'm looking at all these scouts here. All right, Grant Nordwall, for enhancing the outdoor enjoyment of campers at Shady Oaks Camp by coordinating a project and volunteers to construct a new bat house and 2 handicap accessible picnic tables. Roscoe Ray, for beautifying Trantina Farm by organizing a group of scouts from Boy Scout Troop 63 to build and install 6 birdhouses on the property. Joe Schuld, for his leadership skills in organizing fellow scouts from Boy Scout Troop 44 and other volunteers to clear posts and fencing from Messenger Woods and returning the area back to its natural beauty. Zach Sawatsky, for coordinating fellow scouts from Boy Scout Troop 63 and a group of volunteers to install split rail fencing and a small perennial garden to the grounds of Shady Oaks Camp. Okay, this next group recognizes property in the village that has had some kind of beautification. The following award recipients are going to receive a sign to be placed on their property, which is being recognized. When I call your name, you'll come up and receive your certificate, and then you're going to shake hands with the mayor, get your picture taken, and then Sharon Swees, Trustee Swees, is over there, and she will hand you a sign for your property. John and Marilyn Krisham, for creating a beautiful and colorful landscape with charming accessories and utilizing a repurposed bicycle as a fun focal point. Kuled and Isha DC for creating a colorful backyard garden landscape on their property, which is enjoyed by the Yengus Park patrons. Daniel and Colleen Knight for creating a unique landscape design with an eye-catching variety of evergreens, deciduous trees, shrubbery, tall grasses, coleus, and flowers with an interesting mix of textures and colors on their property. And they are unable to attend tonight. Give them applause. Thank you. Okay. David and Pamela Coley for creating a colorful and serene landscape and providing a woodland wildlife habitat on their property. Walter Kono for increasing the urban tree canopy of Homer Glen by adding 288 trees to his property and adding fall color to the landscape. Larry Kresopolska and Christoph Komperda for creating an attractive landscape featuring a variety of height and color, showcasing a mixture of annuals, perennials, and vines. Ronald and Nora Sanderson for creating a bright floral showcase in their front yard and a landscape which transitions beautifully to a serene view of open space. This concludes the awards presentation. Let's give everybody a round of applause. I would like to thank all of you for attending this evening and showing your support for this Homer Glen event. Mayor Daley and Village Trustees, thank you for your support. Environment Committee, thank you for your assistance in coordinating the presentations. And I would like to remind everybody to stay for a group photograph. Remember that there's a number on the back of your frame. I will call you up when it's time. And now I would like to ask the mayor for some time to take pictures. Okay, if we could have the Boy Scouts up first. Troop 63. Okay. That took care of groups 1 and 2. Let's have group 3 come on up. And that would be Grant Nordwall, Joe Schuld, and Tony Nadoka, Alexandra Miller, and Tom Agama.
do something. We got a workshop before we do anything.
Okay, the next one is Group 4, which is John and Marilyn Chrisham, Khaled and Isha DC, David and Pamela Coley.
Here, I got a question. DLP license here. Check the license. You guys stay first. Then you have special event license. Why do you need two? That's what I'm saying. We need to clean this up. Yeah, you're right. Why are they telling us special use? Right.
Yes.
You want juice? Yeah, straight back.
Okay, now if Group 5 could come up, and that would be Walter Kono, Larry Krispolska, and Christoph Comperda, and Norris Anderson. Go on in, Gary.
Supplemental license for premises or license. So we can have it. I know, but we should do it too. She's not coming back here. She's not coming in. Or she's coming in whether we give her the license or not.
And I would just like to add that there are some photos in the back of the room if anyone would like to take a look of some of the projects. And we're all finished.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order. We would be on D, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion? Hold on. No, I take that back. Our approval, amendments to the agenda, excuse me. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Trustee Costa?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move workshop item I right before legislative and action items, which is H.
Does anybody have a problem with moving workshop item I to,
All of I.
oh, you want all of them moved before?
Well, no, I'm sorry, I, A, and B. I'm
I,
sorry.
A, and B, okay. Right before public comment?
Right after.
Right after public comment, okay. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Just a clarification, is this for the purpose, for the consideration of other legislative action that we have on, legislative action on,
Yes,
that's pending? So is this gonna provoke the debate on the legislative action or amend the legislative action? What's the intent on moving it up?
to have discussion on the liquor license special use permit and recommendations and village board questions regarding village liquor licenses. And then later in the meeting, we go back to legislation and action items, which allows you then to vote on it if you so please.
But
Okay?
the petitioner that's before us today has brought forth this petition for the license under the current legislative and ordinances. The petitioner also has gone through all the proceedings and protocols set forth by this board in the village. So I'm just wondering, is this action to negate the petitioner?
No, it's intended to open it up for discussion so that we can discuss some of the concerns of the trustees prior to legislative and action items in the event that you want to vote tonight on the legislation and action items.
Okay, I have no problem with that. As long
Okay.
as we're clear on the intent on it.
Okay. Then the next part would be E. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 10th, 2013 meeting?
I so move.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo? Aye. Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next portion of this meeting is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start out. Under Illinois American files for rate increase. Illinois American Water ran public notices in the Southtown Star and other Illinois newspapers this past week. The purpose of these notices was to announce that the IAW has filed for an increase to their quality infrastructure program, commonly referred to as a QIP, surcharge rate. Since Illinois American Water's president, Carla Teasley, told a group of mayors last year that IAW will be petitioning the ICC for annual increases, this should come as no surprise to any Illinois American customer. I've asked the village staff to request copies of the ICC filing and to place IAW's request on the village's website for residents to be able to read. This is another example of why it's so important for Homer Glen, Bolingbrook, Lamont, Woodridge, and Romeoville to continue our efforts to purchase the IAW water transmission line. As the public knows, we are moving forward with purpose on this intergovernmental purchase effort. Under the Amberfield Subdivision Public Improvement Project, if you recall, the village pulled the letter of credit for Amberfield Subdivision in the fall of 2012. The village completed the first phase of the improvement project, which was the addition of the final service to the roadways. The second phase of the improvement project is now wrapping up, and this included modification to the detention pond and some parkway work. Village staff will evaluate the remaining funds of the LOC in order to recommend further improvements in the near future. Under October's Administration and Finance Committee meeting, the Administration and Finance Committee's October 17th meeting is being moved to Wednesday, October 16th at 4 p.m. This is being done to accommodate those individuals attending the Illinois Municipal League Conference. This information will be posted on the village's website in advance of the revised meeting date. Under 159th Street Planning Study Survey, I want to remind everybody that it's not too late to voice your opinion on what you'd like to see the future 159th Street corridor look like. All you need to do is go on the village's website at www.homerglenil.org and access the brief survey. We would like your input on this important project, so let us know what you think. Under achievements, congratulations to Oak Prairie Junior High School's cross-country runners who competed in the Troy Invite, where they were over 1,800 total finishers in 6 separate races. 5 Oak Prairie student athletes placed in the top 25 of their respective races. Under building revenue growth, I'm happy to report that 9 months into the calendar year, the village is $38,796 ahead of last year's building permit totals, and $198,444.67 ahead of 2011's building permit totals. As you can see from the chart on the screen, the building department revenues continue to increase by nearly $100,000 a year, which means a lot of improvements are happening in Homer Glen. Of the 712 building permits issued for 2013, 447 permits, or 63% of the total permits issued, are for fences, roofs, windows, asphalt, concrete, and pavers. The chart on the screen shows that roofing permits are the most popular permit issued. 21% of all the permit revenue generated for 2013 was for roofing. The growth of the building department's revenue is great news and indicates that the economic conditions continue to improve in Homer Glen. And that concludes the mayor's report. How about we start down with Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a real quick report on the screen. There's some pictures of Erin Hills Park. That is the putting green that's being installed as we speak, pretty much. It's looks like it's pretty much done. It'll be interesting. It's a lot larger than I thought it would be. So hopefully that'll be fun. And the next picture is the playground equipment. And in front of it is the pavilion. And behind that should be swings. I don't think it's completely in yet, but the swings will be right behind that. And then the next picture, this is under construction. This is a lookout area. And we're going to have signage there which will talk about the type of ecosystem, the wetlands and so forth that's there. But look, the park is really taking shape. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Trustee Suisse?
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Environment Committee, September 27th was the last stargazing event for this year at the Trantina Farm. The weather and night sky was perfect, and EMA estimated that approximately 370 people attended the event. They advised that it was the largest crowd they have had seen since they started assisting with stargazing. The committee would like to thank John Robinson and his staff with EMA for their parking assistance, Homer Township for the use of Trantina Farm, and Environment Committee members for their assistance and for distributing Milky Way and Starburst candies to the children. A big thank you to the Kankakee Area Stargazers, Naperville Astronomical Association, and the Southwest Astronomy Observers Group for providing free access to their highly sophisticated telescopes. Our next event will take place in April, date to be advised. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee Kay Janis?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No report today, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Trustee Sabo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reporting on more information on the Environment Committee. Just a repeat of what happened this evening so that we can get this recorded in the minutes. The Homer Glen Lands Day Community Nature and Harmony Award ceremony took place this evening, and we congratulated 15 deserving recipients who have helped beautify, conserve, and preserve properties in the Homer Glen community. Photographs taken of individuals and groups this evening will be placed on the Homer Glen website. The second activity related to Homer Glen Lands Day will be tree planting at the Homer Township Library grounds on Friday, October 25th at 10:30 in the morning. Executive Director Sherry Kozel-Laha and library trustees are delighted to accept the donation of the tree during this significant year when the library building has been renovated and expanded to twice its original size. The public is invited to attend to witness a large tree being planted with modern machinery. Homer Glen Outdoor Lighting Ordinance, the Environment Committee's Lighting Subcommittee met on October 1 and worked on their final draft to update the Homer Glen Outdoor Lighting Ordinance. The next meeting for the Environment Committee will be Monday, October 14th. And then I want to report on tree inventory. Volunteers who were trained about the tree inventory and data collection assessed and mapped 100 trees that day on a Saturday. About 3,200 trees have been inventoried so far, and the total inventory should be completed in the first part of November, and a draft plan will be submitted for review in November also. So that completes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Yukich?
No report tonight, Mayor.
How about Trustee Costa?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that concludes the trustees' reports and the mayor's report. Is there a treasurer's report tonight?
There is not, Mayor.
Okay. Is there a clerk's report?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
How about the village attorney?
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
How about any task force chairpersons? Any public safety officials? We have Joe Baber, the head of the building department, coming up here.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make everyone aware, public aware, at the last meeting,
There was a blowdown of the night core line down on 151st west of Bell Road near TLC. We were informed today that they're going to be doing that again on Monday, October 14th at about 10 p.m. They plan on using a silencer this time, which will reduce the noise, but it will allow the gas not to be blown as high, so there may be an additional smell coming from the area. And the duration of this event is going to take about 3 to 5 hours. So we'll have that posted once again on our website as well. And then also, I just want to mention this Sunday, the Kono Farm has been approved to have a firework event at their Kono Corn Maze on Sunday at 7 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, does the village manager have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of quick items. First of all, I'd like if we could have Economic Director Patch give just a brief reminder to everyone in the audience and the board about an upcoming open house.
Sure. Good evening. So what I wanted to just make note of is that there will be, this is for the 159th Street Corridor Planning Study. And the village has been conducting the study over the past number of months and has had a number of public interaction, community participation type events taking place in the planning process to generate feedback on the corridor and its future from residents and other stakeholders. As the village is going towards the concluding final phases of this planning study, there is the next and really final interactive group outreach event, and that is scheduled as a community workshop and open house, and that will be held on October 29th in this room, the village board meeting room. It will start at 6:30 p.m. and go for a couple of hours. The consultants for the study will be here, and there will be boards with visuals for people to walk around and see different aspects of the proposed recommendations for the plan. This is the preliminary draft stage of the plan right now as it's forming up. There will be two formal presentations, one at 7 o'clock and one at 8 o'clock. That will give residents and stakeholders time to drop in either, before or in between the two presentations in order to ask questions, get more information, provide feedback to the consultants, and talk with village staff. So just a reminder, there's been a media release. There's also been a mailer that will probably be reaching property owners and other stakeholders in the community in the next day or two in the mail. Thank you.
Thank you, Janie. I'm handing out a letter right now to the board. This is a letter that's going to be distributed tomorrow to all of the businesses here in the Founders Crossing commercial complex. As you'll be able to read in the letter, Enbridge is a company that has pipelines in the community. Enbridge needs to complete an underground pipeline maintenance in the area of Founders Crossing and Martingale Lane and Bell Road. So Enbridge will begin this project in mid to late October, causing a need for the north end of Founders Crossing up here all the way to the end. And then as it turns into Martingale Lane, as it heads out to Bell Road, that last very segment as the turn comes out to Bell Road is going to need to be closed for a couple weeks. And so this letter, Janie's going to hand deliver this letter to all the businesses up and down. I believe that the township has also been notified for the senior complex behind, but we'll double check on that. What the village is going to do is the village is going to secure a sign that's going to be placed out on Bell Road, a rather large sign that directs everyone down to the Founders Crossing South entrance down here, so that people will always have access to all the businesses. It's just that one small section of road needs to be closed because the pipeline actually runs right in the right-of-way there. So for safety purposes and construction purposes, it needs to be closed. We'll also put some information on the website about that. The second item I want to mention is the Long Run Big Creek Cleanup Day later in the month. On the 26th. We've already sent out one letter to residents who live along Long Run Creek, and there's another letter planned either later this week or very early next week. Signs have been ordered for the neighborhood to help promote it. We'll be installing them throughout the neighborhoods. Staff has already been doing site visits for residents who've called in because of our first letter. Actually, Trustee DeVivo was out looking at a property with Commissioner DeVivo and myself and intern Yerk out looking at several properties where there are particular challenges with the creek and things that are in the creek. So we're busy seeking volunteers. I know Alex Yerk is working on that. If anyone in the community would like to help with the project, you can certainly call 708-301-0632, and we'd be happy to have your help that Saturday. The third item that I have very quickly here, last night the Plan Commission gave their unanimous approval to the Richards Building Supply corporate headquarters building, an approximate 23,000 square foot corporate headquarters plan for 159th Street, just west of Will Cook Road. The item will be on the Village Board's October 22nd meeting agenda. No member of the public spoke for or against the proposed development during the public hearing portion of the Plan Commission's meeting last night. The Richards Building Supply Company is not seeking any variances as a part of their submittal, and copies of the proposed development plans are available here at Village Hall for anyone who would like to take a look at them. And my final item is the Apple reminds me we have a lot of wonderful tourism opportunities here in town, and for the first time the village has put together a kind of comprehensive page on the website directing people to Bankston's and Garden Patch and Cano's Farm and Messenger Woods and the new Story Walk at Sundra Park that's up. So there's a page on our website to kind of direct people that might be looking for tourism opportunities from outside of Homer Glen and from in the community. So Mayor, that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. The next portion of this meeting is public comment. I'd like to have it kept to 3 minutes. We've got a few speakers here. The first speaker tonight, when you step up to the podium, if we could have your name and address for the record, is Tom Wallace.
Hi, good evening. Tom Wallace. The property I'm here for is 14041 South Bell Road. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know that I will be here on behalf of Dottie's for any questions and answers when we come up on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker would be Terry, is it Dunleavy?
Dunleavy. Yes.
Dunleavy.
Thank you. Good evening. As noted, my name's Terry Dunleavy. I'm a partner in the law firm Better Price in the Chicago office. I represent Illinois Cafe, also known as Dottie. Just wanted to give you a few brief facts. Dottie has received gaming licenses in Nevada, Oregon, Montana, and soon in Illinois. Dottie's has over 250 locations throughout the United States, having received over 200 municipal and local approvals. In Illinois, Dottie's expects to open 20 locations by the end of the year and 3 to 5 thereafter for a total of approximately 150. I just wanted to provide you with that information, and we will make ourselves available, and we await your decision.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Larry Conrath.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Larry Conrath, and I reside at 13345 Oakwood Drive. I'm here tonight to speak about the leaf burning ordinance that's on the agenda tonight for approval. I have served as a citizen volunteer on the Homer Glen Public Safety Committee for the last 12 years. I would like to comment on the ordinance that would require a permit for the open burning of leaves. I believe the ordinance, as currently drafted, is not enforceable in that its regulation requires three areas where I do not believe there's anybody that can, determine the enforceability of the ordinance. I also believe it puts an unnecessary burden on the village staff to administer this ordinance. The first part is it requires a 2-hour notice to adjacent property owners before leaf burning can begin. It requires wind speeds between 5 and 15 miles per hour to be able to burn. And burning only dry landscape material free from non-organic debris. I don't know how you qualify that. There is no indication as to who enforces compliance with these regulations. I suggested, as reported in the June 13th Homer Horizon, ask leaf burning residents to pick up free permits this burn season so that the committee can track the areas of town that burns leaves as well as when they burn. The proposed ordinance does not accomplish this. This ordinance requires residents to procure a permit that would give them the right for 6 months to start fires that can potentially emit toxic leaf smoke into our community. I believe that until the village can come up with an economically attractive alternative to burning, most landowners will not voluntarily comply with any leaf burning limitations set by village directives. Based on my experience I have drawn from my job as a waste disposal industry consultant, I have suggested some common sense leaf burning alternatives for the Public Safety Committee to consider that have not yet been acted on. I believe we should pursue some of these ideas instead of promoting an unenforceable ordinance to the village board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Larry. The next person to speak would be Laura, what's the last name? Euler. Just the address for the record.
Hi, my address is 16741 Brentwood in Homer Glen. I just wanted to publicly thank the Public Safety Committee for all the hard work they've done. I know they've heard from a lot of residents, including myself, about this issue, and the two trustees heading it, in addition to the committee members, have worked very hard, so I wanted to publicly thank them. They heard from the American Lung Association, they heard from a critical care lung doctor, they've heard from a different doctor, all about the bad health implications of burning leaves and the compounds that are put into the community. So you still need to consider that. I know they're not looking to ban it right now. One other point I wanted to make is I think we need to be sure that current residents are aware that that the requirement is 50 feet from a structure right now. So I think, you know, there needs to be some communication to the residents so they know that. One other point I'd like to make, and you may be aware of it already, but Will County is also discussing, I believe it's going to be on the agenda next month, same type of thing, but they're increasing the distance from the structure from 50 to 100 feet, and Homer Glen may want to do the same to be in compliance with Will County. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker would be Sue Foster.
Good evening. I'm Sue Foster. I live at 13226 West Farmview Street in Homer Glen. There are two issues on my mind this evening. The first one is the Dottie's issue. I can see from the agenda that there's a little more maneuvering going on here. I've been quite disappointed in the actions of our board. I'd like to see this be resolved sooner rather than later. It's really demonstrating disrespect for the owner of the property, for the potential tenant, and for the citizens of Homer Glen, for whom another retail establishment would be a positive endeavor. Secondly, on a more personal note, I learned this evening from John Robinson that apparently any property within the city of Homer Glen that is zoned to be agricultural is exempt from the Homer Glen weed ordinance. You can hear in my voice that I have a hard time talking. It's because of my allergies. My allergies are prompted from the adjacent property to mine, which has weeds that are taller than I am. This property had been maintained by the property owner until the time that the city put in a pump in the detention pond. From that day on, the owner of that property no longer maintained it. he maintained a portion of his property closer to his own residence. That property owner is no longer in control of that residence, and the property is not being maintained at all. I'm in a position now where I'm actually mowing 5 feet into that property just to try to keep the weeds at bay. But before I can mow my property, I have to go out and pull weeds out of my lawn so that I don't have this encroachment taking over my property. It's a problem for me. It is a health issue for me, and I have an infestation of mice every year in my house because this weed field exists adjacent to my property. And
If
the
you,
value of my property...
if you could give me the address, I'd look into it.
Well, I'm at 13226 West Farmview, and this is the property that is directly north of me. It's between me and Bengtson's.
Okay, directly north, okay.
And the value of my property is negatively affected by this disaster that any potential home buyer would be facing. So what I'm asking the village to do at this point, in the village weed ordinance, in section 3, subsection 7, the ordinance states that any property zoned A1 or A2 is exempt from following the weed ordinance. I would like that ordinance to be amended so that property zoned A1 or A2 must also comply the same as any other property owner in the village.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, the next speaker would be Joe Boczynski.
Thank you. I'm speaking regarding Dottie's Cafe's application concerning the property located at 14041 South Bell. My name's Joe Boczynski. I am a property owner. At your last meeting, the previous meeting, the subject property owners discussed many very important facts concerning the application. That included property rights matters, the village fact that the village forced annexed the subject property, and many other pro-business matters were discussed. Today, I'd like to focus on a few other important facts. First, when the village board unanimously approved to opt into the program for our tenants' use, now this is the very important part of this, you knew that these businesses are required to have liquor licenses. At this point, to not approve that business liquor license would be discriminatory. Second, when you made your unanimous approval, the locations you were considering were business area locations, commercial subdivisions. The subject property meets your ideal criteria. There isn't a residential home really in the immediate area. The location, the subject property's location is within the largest commercial development in Homer Glen. This is most likely the area that you really ideally prefer to have such a business. I mean, I think these 2 points are very, very important for the application, and we'd ask you to give full consideration to the application, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Next speaker would be Alan Eckerson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I handle the leasing at the subject property, 14041 South Bell Road. We've had a lot of difficulty in leasing this property through the years in the downturn, and Dottie's would be a good tenant for us. They'll draw additional foot traffic to the center, and it'll be one less vacant storefront in the Homer Glen market. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker would be Dan Rose.
Thank you, Village Board, for allowing me to speak. I'm a property owner at 14041 South Bell Road. I'm talking on behalf of the Dottie's issue. You know, the primary role of government, as I see it, is to protect the rights of its citizens. The petitioner in this instance, Dottie's, is an approved use in the village, actually approved unanimously by the Village Board. Thank you, Village Board. And also, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission for unanimously voting to recommend passage of the petition for special use in this case. You know, if I were here as a homeowner in Homer Glen, and I was asking for something like a fence to put up on my property that was completely legal to put on my property, everybody would look at this as a different way. You know, property rights don't only, they don't, it's not different if it's a residential property, a commercial property, and I'd like to, you know, the village board to consider that the rights of commercial property owners are just as important as the residential property owners. You know, really all I'm asking here is if there is some maneuvering going on and you see on the agenda that certain things have changed and there's now more than 2 different things on there that I don't even know what they are, and it's concerning my property. I'm asking that, you know, if you'd stop playing politics and do what's right and, you know, follow the law as it's written, and just grant me and basically everyone else in the village of Homer Glen, you know, the rights of equal protection under the law. That's pretty much all I want to say, and I want to thank you again for letting me speak.
Thank you, Dan. Next speaker would be Mike Rose.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As every one of the other folks have said, I brought along enlargement of our real estate tax bill. And look at this, I put it upside down on this side. So it's $63,000. We as a group, LFI, manage and own properties in at least 20 communities throughout the Chicago area. We're very active in the retail leasing and development business. We have contacts with most of the major retail companies that expand and open new facilities and renew existing leases throughout Chicagoland. And we would like to increase our participation in Homer Glen in the future. As we continue to lease the facility in Homer Glen, the real estate taxes will go up. We'll continue to help offset the many expenses that it takes to run a village like Homer Glen. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. The next speaker would be Andrew Willis.
Good evening. Andrew Willis, 12403, Homer Glen. I want to address the issue of Dottie's. I can tell you're all excited about that. There seems to be a tilt toward Dottie's as being a pro-business move. Now, I'm for Dottie's coming in. I just don't want the video gambling. I've been reading over some statistics, and it's just doing some alarming negative effects on the families in Nevada and right around where other similar facilities have been placed, and just has a lot of negative effects on the families and society as a whole. But I also want to address how this will affect the business community on a whole. Why is Dottie's seem to be so reliant on their gaming, their video gaming? And what would be the negative effects on the other businesses? First of all, Dottie's, because they have this sort of unfair advantage over the other businesses, because they have the revenue coming from the video gaming. So they have this vast amount more money coming in that other businesses who do not have a liquor license or do not wish to have video gaming does not have. So they can put all this much more money into their services, into their cheaper prices, and that puts an unfair advantage on the other businesses who are struggling to make ends meet. And that forces the other businesses to either suffer or go to the lowest common denominator and bringing in their video gaming machines. Now, I admit I do not see
we try
how...
we try to keep it at 3 minutes.
How long have I gone? I'm sorry. All right, I'll be quick. Okay, I do not see how, I do agree that this could be discriminatory if you do not allow the liquor license. So I think the best summary would be start movement to repeal the gaming license. I believe it just happened past summer, and it shouldn't be that hard. It doesn't seem like we have had that much movement, and it seems like the best move for Homer Glen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be Kathy Gilcoy or whatever. Kathy, I'm not going to listen tonight. You don't even live in this village. I'm not going to listen to a dissertation on video gaming. So say what you have to say in 3 minutes.
Kathy Gilroy, 230 West Division Street, Villa Park. Good evening. A story on gambling cafes in Oregon stated that a group of legitimate restaurants has morphed into a strip of 12 gaming-focused establishments where food takes a back seat to games and cigarette and alcohol sales. A byproduct of the change, an increase in blight and crime, including drug use, drunken driving, and fighting. Oregon State Rep. Tina Kotek said, quote, "There is no pretense that these places are restaurants, and it's become a livability problem, a nuisance problem, and a safety problem," unquote. As a condition for awarding renewed liquor licenses for the next 2 years, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission required each gambling cafe to employ a security guard to work the front door, check IDs, patrol the parking lot, and perform other duties from 2 p.m. until closing time. Portland Police Department North Precinct Commander Mike Leloff testified that the bars typically have only one person on duty, and that makes it hard for that person to check IDs and monitor for illegal activities. Sometimes the bars are unattended, he said, while the lone employee is using the restroom or otherwise preoccupied. A parent testified that she worries that it's not safe for her daughters to walk to Starbucks because they have to walk near the vice-ridden row. Quote, "Would you allow your daughter or elderly mother to walk past these establishments?" Unquote, she asked. First it was 20 days, then a deadline extension to 30. It was 2 months of an all-out security blitz, which included nightly patrols by hired security and a drug-sniffing dog. Quote, "There's criminal activity. It is methamphetamines, it is heroin, it's marijuana, and it's a safe place for them to come," unquote, said Commander Leloff. Police ticketed all 12 businesses for drugs, and one has been forced to shut down. Police Sergeant Mark Friedman said, "A criminal culture has flourished there for years, and it will take a long time to eliminate." Owners said the extra patrols are costing them $30,000 a month, but they'll pay it to stay in business. Dan Fisher of Dottie's Cafe was interviewed for the story by KGW-TV about drug problems at his gambling cafe. Please don't invite those problems to Homer Glen.
Thank you. All right, the next speaker would be Nick Romano.
Nick Romano, 12737 Oak Valley Trail. We're passing out a thank you note. I would like to compliment on behalf of the Oak Valley Homeowners Association and myself and praise the professionalism of the staff, the trustees, and the mayor for, first of all, acknowledging that the village has some flooding issues. 2, conducting a study which prioritized which subdivisions in the village that are at high risk. 3, for implementing that study and finding creative ways of funding the flooding projects throughout the village. It really shows that all of you are concerned about the residents of the village and that government can work, especially local government, in meeting the needs of the residents. I personally want to thank you, and also the homeowners association would like to thank you for working with us. And we know there's one more phase to do, and we know that's with the cooperation of the Will County Forest Reserve. So if you need any assistance in letter writing or phone calls to Will County, I know it's tough to work with another governmental agencies, especially when it's not our property, to finish our last phase. Thank you very much for your support.
You're quite welcome, Nick. Thank you. Next speaker would be Jim Blair.
Good evening. Jim Blair, 16748 South Ashley Court. I have a wooded acre, probably 70 to 100 trees, most of them oak trees, and I have a lot of leaves. I have nothing to do with them but burn. My neighbor has a wrought iron fence. Last year, my neighbor complained that my fire pit was too close and that may harm some new bushes that they planted. My wife called the village and was told that our fire pit needed to be a minimum of 15 feet from their wrought iron fence. I moved my fire pit 20 feet to be neighborly. My neighbor called the village to complain about my burning. Joe Baber came out, assessed the situation, and told me that I was in compliance. He said he would go over and inform the complainant that I was in compliance. On Saturday, this last Saturday, I lit about 2 wheelbarrows full of leaves on fire. There was barely any fire, barely any smoke. My neighbor called the police. The police came out and told me that my fire pit needs to be 50 feet from this fence, which means now I have to move my fire pit once again. I called the village today. Oddly enough, I got Joe Baber on the phone. He told me that my neighbor can call whenever they want to. He told me if my fire is deemed to be a nuisance by the responding officer, that they can tell me to put it out. Now I need clarification, what is a nuisance? Because I don't know that. I need to know that one officer coming out is going to deem it as a nuisance and another may not. This is too ambiguous for me. The vagueness and subjectivity that the committee has put on this town, my neighbor is going to call the police no matter what I do. My neighbor watches every move I make, and no matter what I do is going to call on me. So I need to know either I'm burning within the guidelines or I'm not. I need to know that from this committee.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be Scott Perry.
Hi, Scott Perry, 16764 Ashley Court. I'm actually Jim's neighbor, and I have a heavily wooded lot, and I burned for 20 years, both branches and leaves, and I keep my hose charged, I keep a small fire, I keep a clean fire, and I've never had a complaint from a neighbor, never had a problem with a fire creating an issue. But, and I do want to thank the Public Safety Commission. They put a lot of work into trying to come up with some reasonable solution to the problem, but I don't think we really have it yet. The burning ordinance, if strictly enforced, is very, it's very difficult to live with. You got to have 50 feet from any structure, and with a heavily wooded lot, you also got to be 20 feet away from any tree, which means a 40-foot clear diameter. And, you know, with a 1 acre lot, if I clear 40-foot diameter, I'm going to solve my problem. I'm not going to have anywhere near the number of trees to deal with. So I think that the permit process applies even more restrictions than the burn permit than the burn ordinance. And between the two of them, it's gotten so restrictive that it's going to leave the owners that have a lot of trees with no really good options to deal with the material. I really, at this point, cannot burn and comply with both the ordinance and the permit. It's just too restrictive, and so I'm going to have to find some other way to deal with my debris. And I don't feel that there is a good solution that has been that anybody's come up with to deal with this. If I chip all my stuff, my branches up, I can load these little blue bins, probably up to about 150 pounds, and New Way's not going to enjoy dealing with them. If I put all my leaves in bags, I'll generate 100 or more bags. My neighbors will do the same thing every week, and we're gonna make New Way cry uncle here pretty quick.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The final speaker would be John Coy.
Oh, John Coy, 12056 Venetian Way, Homer Glen. I got two things. One thing is, I'm not really for Dottie's as what they want because of a couple things. One is the liquor licensing, gambling. I can't say I've never done it. I do it. So this is not my problem, but there's got to be some regulations, number one, set up as to how many of them, how many liquor licenses are you going to give to these establishments? Do we have anything on our books that say we can only restrict it to one a mile, one every 5 miles? I mean, we can't have Bell Road be slot machine heaven for all the rest of these communities to all of a sudden come out here like this is Las Vegas Strip or something. I don't like that, and I've been here for over 40 years, and I've gone through the growing of this township and this village. So I'm only one person. There's a few more of us here, but not a lot. That's the problem. I own property in Arkansas. When I come up here, can I use that as my address? I don't know where some of these fellas even live, other than they're representing a piece of property. They're not signing in right. I think they should put down where they live. Is it legal for them to do that? It says, what's your residence? They're not giving us their residence. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment. The next portion of this meeting, we moved the workshop item up to right after public comment. Let me get my notes straight here. Okay. Under the workshop item, tonight, Attorney Stirk will review his findings and recommendations with the village board and then answer any questions the board has regarding those recommendations. Attorney Stirk, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We were asked to take a look at the special use permits that are issued in conjunction with the liquor licenses. And Homer Glen is rather unique in that it requires a special use permit under its zoning ordinance as a condition of issuing a liquor license. So the village clerk was kind enough to prepare a list of all the liquor licenses and provide us also with a list of the special use permits that were issued in connection with some of the licenses. It turns out that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entities have never secured a special use permit. 2 of them are Enzo's Pizzeria and Le Crepe Bistro, which are for-profit entities. The others are churches, 3 churches, and the Homer Festival. And the latter 4, the not-for-profits, only ask for liquor licenses on an occasional basis. It's not a year-long license. So our recommendation is to amend the zoning ordinance so that special use permits are not required for the not-for-profits. And that's St. Bernard's Church, St. John the Baptist, Annunciation, and Homer Township. That just seems to be, it would be a waste of the village's time and their money, because I think it cost about $1,100 for a special use permit process. Right, so that's not a cheap venture for not-for-profits that have long-standing in the town. If you want to keep the special use permits, that's your business. They do seem to serve a purpose because they give you an extra level of control over the issuance of liquor licenses. The other question that was asked was whether the special use permits run with the land or whether they're unique to the owners. And the the rule in Illinois is that they would run with the land unless the special use permits are unique to that property owner. And we reviewed all the special use permits, and only one of them, and that was for the Orient Cafe, said it was issued to those owners, Alex and Sue Chang. For everybody else, it was just a boilerplate, very generic special use permit ordinance. So if you want them to be, going forward, if you want them to be unique or limited just to that property owner, the special use permit ordinance has to be written that way. So, based on all of that, my recommendations are as follows, that the board should direct the village staff to initiate the process to amend the zoning ordinance to exclude not-for-profits and anyone else seeking a temporary liquor license from having to go through the special use process. Number 2, for the board to decide as a matter of policy whether the special use permit should expire when the business is sold, or whether the special use permit should remain with the business. And then the third one is to direct the village staff to work with Enzo's and La Crepe Bistro to secure the required special use permits. And in that way, all of the liquor establishments in town will have special use permits. That concludes my report.
Okay, let's see here. Number 4, a question that was asked, the village manager, do you want to address that?
Mayor, this is a separate workshop. He's doing the special use first.
Okay.
And then the other questions come in the next
That was just, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, that was just the first part of it, and then Trustee Yukich asked for a workshop to discuss 4 issues concerning the liquor license, and this, of course, is all in conjunction with the gaming ordinance. So the first question was, can we get a brief overview of the strengths and weaknesses of the ordinance? I'm assuming that's the liquor ordinance related to the changes made by the state in regards to gaming.
You know what, excuse me, Mark, before we get on to that, does anybody have any questions for the village attorney about the special use process for liquor licenses? Before we go to the next one. Go right ahead.
It says it's for that L1A is just for presentation, so, but then there are recommendations that he has brought forward. Are we supposed to be responding to that now before we go into the next workshop, which
No.
is 1B?
I think that what you should do is read the memo, review the recommendations, and then bring that up at the next board meeting to decide what you want to do.
I see. Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any further questions about the presentation Mark just made? All right, continue on, Mark.
Okay, so the first question again was, can we get a brief overview of the strengths and weaknesses of the liquor ordinance related to the changes made by the state in regards to gaming? And, they're separate but related issues. What's happened with the gaming statute is it simply says that the municipalities, whether by ordinance or by referendum, have the authority to prohibit gaming in your town. And Homer Glen, like most other communities that have taken up the issue, have authorized gaming. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what side of the fence you're on, the legislature did not provide any mechanism for the municipalities to limit the number of gaming licenses other than through limiting liquor licenses. There's no provision that says that you can, actually, take that back. What the statute says is that in order to get a gaming license from the state of Illinois, you have to have a liquor license for consumption on the premises. So if you issue a liquor license for consumption on the premises, then that business, that entity, is entitled to apply to the state of Illinois for a gaming license. There's no restriction on that. And the statute does not give you the authority to say, we're only going to issue gaming licenses to these types of establishments, places that only serve food or that only serve food for table service or any other type of category. So if you have a liquor license from any town and the town has not prohibited video gaming, then they are entitled to apply to the state of Illinois for a liquor license. I've looked at not just the statute, I've looked at the regulations issued by the Illinois Gaming Board. There's nothing that deals with that. I spoke with the state representative who introduced and shepherded the legislation through the General Assembly, and he told me that there is no, that they did not contemplate any type of restriction other than through a prohibition of gaming, a blanket prohibition in the community. So until a court, an appellate court of the state of Illinois, addresses that issue, then the only advice that I have for you is if you do not want to have gaming, then you do that through the liquor license process. And that's by not issuing liquor licenses. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I do have one question. You just got done saying that no matter what liquor license they get, they have a right to gaming. New Lenox has gaming right now, and the only one that can get it is a not-for-profit VFWs.
Right. And
So
that
you
is
can't limit.
Right, well, and I will say this, that one of the towns that my office is in Evergreen Park has done that. One of the towns that I represent has done the same thing. They've also done it just for the not-for-profits, and no one has challenged that, which is not to say that someone's not going to challenge it at some point in the future, then it's going to be up for a court to decide.
Okay, and at the same token, if you've got a G license like we have, or a D license where it's packaged liquors, you're telling us that they can put...
No, so I do for consumption on the premises.
Okay, so if that's the case, then the way you have to do it to limit it is you have to limit the amount of licenses that you can. And on our
Right.
board, like for right now, what's before us, right now is they're going for an F license. Where I have a problem with that in this village is this village does not have one tavern in it, not one plain bar. Everything is tied to food.
Right.
An F license has no restrictions whatsoever. The F license says all they have to do is serve beer and wine. That becomes a tavern, that becomes a bar. We don't have any, why would we change it now? So, in essence, what we would have to do is, what, like you said before, we have no problem with a business trying to come in here. Make sure you understand that. Same thing for the business owner. What we're trying to do is protect the village. So all we're trying to do right now is measure what our liquor ordinance is and adjust it accordingly to where it's a level playing field for everybody.
The question I have for the village attorney is, and I did not create these liquor license ordinances, and I do agree that the liquor license ordinances need a facelift and a little more clarity to them. But what is the purpose of F license for beer and wine? I mean, have you,
The purpose is to regulate the sale or to license establishments for the sale of beer and wine. It's just one of, you have a multitude of classifications, probably more so than any other liquor license that I've looked at. But this is to allow the sale of beer and wine for consumption on licensed premises, and there's no hook that it has to have food or anything else like your A license does.
can you, through the special use permit process, issue a F license with restrictions?
You could.
Okay.
But the better thing to do is to amend, so I'm going to be honest with you, the better thing to do is to amend the liquor ordinance.
Okay. Trustee Costa wanted to say something down there.
Yes, just a question for you, Mark. You talked about limiting the, oh, I'm sorry. You talked about limiting the liquor licenses. Can we limit specific licenses while leaving other licenses still available for the board to give out? Here's my example. I'm just going to use two examples. A and B licenses probably are most commonly used, especially B, for restaurants and sports bars that serve alcohol. If we would limit, for an example, that's my opinion, if we would limit all the licenses to, let's say, what we have on the books right now, that would stop anybody from coming in our community.
Right.
And no matter what the business is, until one of the businesses close and one then would become available, I think that would cripple us for the growth.
Right.
But
I'd
can we,
agree
for example,
100%.
my bottom question is, I'm just going to say three examples, not that we would do this. A, B, and C. Let's just say A, B, and C. Make it easy for discussion. Can we say A, B, and C are the three licenses that we would give out to businesses that come in, they fit that classification, and the rest of the licenses that we have, we actually put a limit, let's say, based on what's already given out now, or make one more available in each one. Can you do that, or do you have to go across the board, that all of them have to be restricted?
Yes, the answer to the question is yes, you can. You're like most suburbs in that you do not have any open liquor licenses. So if somebody wants to get a liquor license in your town, they have to make the application for the liquor license. The application is vetted by whoever does that in your community, and then a decision is made whether you're going to adopt an ordinance increasing the number of liquor licenses by one to accommodate that applicant.
Okay, my
And
question...
that's exactly the situation that's here, is that in fact, you've got two things. Number one, you're gonna create the liquor license. He has an ordinance creating a liquor license. Number two, you're gonna approve you would approve a special use permit. And number three, you would assign that liquor license to this case, Dottie's.
Okay.
Wherever the applicant happens to be.
So you're saying is we can actually, now, would we have to actually have an ordinance or vote on what licenses we would like to have a specific number in the village apply to, or, you know, make available?
Well-
Or, see, my question is this, what you were saying, if somebody applies for it, now it would be the village's responsibility or the board's responsibility to say yes or no to it. Now we're on that slippery slope again. If you don't have a limit on a license, how do you say no to a business that wants one?
Well,
the-
simply because, I'm sorry.
Good. Well, the thing that we have right now, Mike, is there are no available liquor licenses. If you put a limit on, say, A, B, C, they're available then. If we don't have 5 of what you said, and we only have 2, 3 are available. Somebody can come in right to the counter, fit the zoning ordinance, apply for one of the available liquor licenses. That's why we do have the special use permit process, and that's why we look at each situation as far as does it fit. Then we issue a license, we create the license and issue it at the same time. And when a establishment closes, that liquor license goes away. Nothing's left to grab. So maybe that clarifies something or not.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, and George, if I can see this, I'm sorry, just, maybe I didn't get my question out right. Right now, we have, our D license, we have 4 of them in the village, and that's package store. If we want to, can the board say, okay, 4 is the maximum D licenses
Yes.
we will give out?
Yes.
And
And
let's say
many
E is 4 is maximum, but yet not put any maximum on A, B, or C. Can we do that?
Yeah, I don't know why you would, but yes, you can.
Okay.
Right. What most towns have in their liquor ordinance, is it'll say A licenses, and then there'll be a fixed number, B licenses, there'll be a fixed number of that, and that number actually reflects the number of licenses that exist in the town at the time. And then as soon as one of those licensed businesses go out of close, then at the very next meeting, that the village board will enact an ordinance reducing that number of licenses by 1, so there's never an open license available.
Which,
That's pretty much what I was
Right,
saying.
and what you do
and
here
that's
is...
what you did do.
Right, you pass an ordinance creating the license for that particular applicant.
Okay. When
So-
Kobe's closed, and that was the only tavern in the place, that
We-
the license is still there, but there are 0 licenses. There's nothing
The
available.
category is still there.
Right.
There is no F license available. You would have to create an F license. And because it's in our zoning ordinance, our liquor ordinance, that is the license that Dottie's has chose to, I don't speak for them because this is a board decision, a community decision. The fact is that it's one of our zoning categories, and this fits their prototype of business, and they've already discussed with us what they intend to do with the property. Here's a question for the attorney too. If you did issue the license and the way the business was run was not the way they portrayed it here, could you suspend the license?
Well, it would depend on how in what manner they violated your liquor ordinance. So, for example, Dottie's says, Dottie's, from what I've read about them, they have a 4-drink minimum. They have a 4-drink maximum. Sorry, not a minimum, 4-drink maximum. So they have a 4-drink maximum. Okay, well, that's their pitch to the public. But now if they decide, well, we're going to make it 6 drinks, or, the ladies in Homer Glen, they can really put it down, so we're going to make it 8 or 10, whatever that number is, that doesn't violate that's not violating your liquor ordinance. They're just changing their business model. So that wouldn't be a violation. if they said that if they were issued a license that involved the sale of food in conjunction with their business operations and they weren't selling food, then they'd be horse of a different color. Then they would be, or if they did something else to violate your liquor code or village code, then they would be subject to a hearing and suspension or possible revocation of their liquor license.
Maybe this is going over my head, but you come in with a plan, and you submit a plan that says, we're going to have X amount of tables, here's our menu, here's our hours of operation, we're looking for a beer and wine license, and you find out what Trustee Yukich's concerns were, that they're really not serving any food, they're really not doing what they told us. Can
Right.
you then revoke the liquor license based upon, you permitted them based upon the fact that they submitted a plan for that site and didn't follow through with the site?
No, because
plan?
it doesn't violate your
I get
liquor
you.
ordinance.
I get
One
you.
of the possible ways to address that situation would be through the special use permit, because they have to get the special use permit, and they have to have a special use permit as a condition of having a liquor license. So to condition their business operations upon all the representations that are made before who does it, your plan commission? Okay, before your plan commission, would be to plug all those things into the special use permit ordinance. And that they understand they have to do this, 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 and this, and if they don't, the special use permit is subject to revocation. And without the special use permit,
Then the
they
liquor
can't-
license
they
is
can't run a
revoked.
business.
And that was my issue, because, all right, the planning commission approved something, but the planning commission didn't know that, all they did is they approved a liquor license. They didn't approve a specific liquor license, they just said they can get one. Well, with getting one, that was my complaint, because when it says with Class F, all it says is authorizes a retail sale of beer and wine only for consumption on a premise where sold by the glass, bottle, carafe, or beer by the pitcher, or capacity not to exceed 60 ounces. Annual fee is $1,500. That's all it says about the F license. That is not right. We don't want taverns in here. We don't want just bars in here. This is a nice, quiet community where if they're gonna come in, you do it the same way everybody else does. You get an A license, you get a B license, you have a full kitchen, you have, you can go with an A license where it's just a service bar, you can go with a B license where you've got a bar. It makes it a fair playing field, and it makes you stick to the ordinance of where you have to have food. Anyone can come in and say, you know what, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, they don't do it. Why? Because they don't have to. F licenses, they don't have to. If we're gonna let something in, this is all brand new to us. Everyone on this board, really, we have no knowledge of what this is. This whole state doesn't know what this gambling situation is. I don't wanna open, I know it's in a bunch of papers, but it still doesn't answer questions. But all it is you have to understand something. We open up that door, anybody can come in. We're learning right now. All we want to do is, like I said, we have no problem with you coming in.
No.
I've had umpteen thousand phone calls. I have no problem with something coming in, but it has to be by our guidelines, not yours.
And that's why what I'm saying to you is that, perhaps the best way to address these specific things that the mayor pointed out about, they said it's going to be a 4-drink, there's a 4-drink maximum, and they're going to serve food, and they're going to do all these other things, is through the special use permit that you issue by virtue of adopting the ordinance. Even though the planning commission didn't make those findings and recommendations, you have to keep bear in mind that the planning commission only makes recommendations. So to take that special use permit ordinance and amend it to put in all of the representations that have been made by Dottie's, because there's no reason why they shouldn't, why Mr. Dunleavy shouldn't stand before you today and say, yeah, we're gonna stand by all those, and we have no issue with that going into the special use permit ordinance, amend the special use permit ordinance, hold them to that, and if they don't live by those conditions, then you revoke the special use permit. They have to have a special use permit as a condition of having a liquor license.
I still like something that's in black and white. A and B is black and white.
Well, George, this, like I said before, this is a board decision, but this is black and white. By having a special use permit, you're protected, that they're coming forward with a plan that says they're going to do this, and this. And based upon what they stated and what they told this village board, you issue a special permit based upon them following what they brought in front of you. The special use permit gets them the liquor license. If they don't do what they said you do, they're subject to revocation of the special use permit, which leads to the suspension of their liquor license.
Right. It actually is looking at the special use permit as opposed to the liquor license. The special use permit may be the preferred alternative, bearing in mind the fact that, you know, there's been no appellate court cases on this issue at all. But the special use permit may be the preferable alternative to regulate businesses like this, because each one of these businesses may be a little bit different. And you can put the conditions in the special use permit based on the representations that each applicant has made about how their business is going to be operated.
See what, I'll get to in a second, Mike. The thing that I see going on here is if you force them into a license that isn't a prototype of their business, you're just saying no. Well, you know, you're just saying no to them.
No,
Go ahead,
couldn't be
Trustee
further from the
Costa.
truth.
Okay, first, I mean, I understand what Mark said, and I think that's a great idea.
I'm
That
sorry,
the
what'd you say?
special
What'd you
use.
say?
I'll
Thought that
finish
was
my,
a what?
I'll finish my comment. I lost my train of thought now, so.
You said it was a great idea.
Yeah, you don't have to put that in the minutes, but no. I like the idea, I'm sorry, I like the idea what Mark said about putting it into the special use permit conditions. I also, I mean, if we're gonna look at all the special use permits and make it unique to a business, I just think it's going to confuse the community and the board. I like the idea of, we have ordinances, and I do feel that there is a liquor license out there that fits a business like Dottie's, and we've used Dottie's name here tonight because they're in front of us, but, you know, it could be Mary's or Betty's or Clem's or Lucy's coming in. But, you know, are our ordinances perfect fit for any business that's coming in? No. In my mind, there is a license out there that I feel is a better fit, that I think would serve the purpose for Dottie's in the community. And on the other hand, it doesn't muddy the waters by saying, well, through the special use permit, you can make all these clarifications against what you're, not against, but in contrary to what your ordinance says. And if they violate any of these rules of the special use, then they can be in to be brought in. I think just make it easier and just say, you know what, if there's a license out there that I feel, that the board feels, I shouldn't say I, what the board feels fits them, why don't we approve that? Try to work with the business to see what they can do to comply to that ordinance. And in the meantime, revisit our ordinances, and this they may not want to do. I say create another classification. I think there's some here we can eliminate, number one.
Sure.
Create a classification that would fit more this type of business that we could see in the future, that would be more in the mold of our community, what we would like to see come in. That's just my
You
opinion.
would create a specific license, you would propose a specific license classification to deal with establishments like Dottie's, because they're not alone. There's other entities that have the same business model as Dottie's.
Well, either that, or let's say create an F1 license, which is the beer and wine with the food. Have it, you know, something like that. It's something, I don't want to say simple, but not reinvent the wheel. But, you know, because example, an A license pretty much, it's very close to what they're looking for, except it's full alcohol.
Yeah,
Right.
full alcohol.
Which, if Dottie's or Mary's or Lucy's coming in does not want to serve a full alcoholic bar, they don't have to. They can still just serve beer and wine.
Right.
So we may want to do something for an establishment similar to what's in front of us today. That would be beer and wine, but also include the food service into it, and not muddy the waters with having all different special use permits for each business coming in unique to that business. I think that would be a little bit more difficult to watch. That's just my opinion.
Right. You understand that you already have the special use permit process in place for all of your licensed establishments. Everybody's got to get a special use permit anyway. Now, one of the things that you need to decide going forward is, do you want to make the special use permits generic, as they've been in the past? Do you want it to stay that way, or do you want to make them unique to each applicant?
Okay.
That's not a decision for tonight. That's something that you all have to give some thought to.
Personally, I'd like to
Let-
keep,
let
I'd like to
me-
keep the
Mr.
special
Mayor.
use
Yeah.
basic, and like I said, use the ordinance as our guide.
Trustee K. Janice, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Trustee Costa brings up some interesting points for future discussions. And, you know, sometimes it seems as though, listening to this conversation that we're having on this workshop, that it's morphing into a legislative item regarding specifically on the petitioner. Just for the record, though, I'd like to state that, one, we do have an liquor license in our community at this point in time. We do. So it's not uncommon. It is already in our village. So how we go forward on that, you know, this board could discuss and talk about and move forward on. There's been some topics about fixing and what I would like to call barriers to growth with numbers regarding each classification. You know, I guess, you know, if we all had a crystal ball, I guess we would have won the lottery every week. But we don't have crystal balls on what's coming in, what developments may or may not occur in our community. So fixing a number creates barriers for our development in our community. We know that a lot of our residents would like to have more restaurants out here, more plazas, more opportunities. And I think by limiting a number on the certain categories kind of stunts our growth. And I'd be opposed to anything like that. But if we did take that direction, it would bring up several other questions then that we have to understand about the special use. Would really no longer be needed except for, do they meet the zoning classification? Is there availability? Yes or no? The liquor commissioner makes the decision. Now, if we want to move towards that direction, that's a whole different topic with a lot of other questions. But limiting opportunity for future development in our community, I think is a road that we may not want to pursue at this point in time, as our village is young and opportunities with all the open land, with 159th coming in, $100 million project, commercial properties are coming in, restaurants are coming in, hopefully restaurants are coming in, hopefully some other opportunities for our residents to patronize. So by putting a number of quantity on that, I just, man, that's a tough one to swallow. It's almost like taking a lottery. Are we going to start doing lottery for licenses for homes and businesses and on all types of businesses?
Let me ask you this, because what I heard from Trustee Costa and I believe Trustee Yukich is under a similar opinion. Could you sit back a little bit, Mark? The license right now exists F. You're suggesting more backbone if you're going to have an F license. And maybe the answer to this is that you use the special use permit process to get these guys going as you fix up the liquor license zoning classifications, and you do go to something like F1. So when we get this package together in the total review, we move them over from the special use permit to the F1 that they had to do in the first place through the special use, because we're going to yank the special use permit if they don't follow it, and they're going to lose their liquor license in the first place. So you're basically allowing them to move forward, and at the same time, we're talking about we do have to visit these classifications. We have 15 different classifications, I believe.
Yes, we do.
So if you, like I said, if you want to put teeth in the F1, well, let's do it through the special use temporarily. Get these guys going with a special use permit, and then transfer them over and make sure that they're on board with it to the F1 that is going to resemble what you want of the special use permit that they're applying for.
Mayor, it might be even simpler than that, actually.
Go right ahead.
One, if I could. So, and the village, this is kind of a question for the village attorney, and it'll take me just a minute. So, we have one current F license, and that's Nick's. We kind of have to, when you just have one, you kind of got to use the business as an example. And the reason that Nick's has that is because they only want to serve beer and wine, and you come up to the counter and you order it similar to as you would do at Dottie's. So you really don't have to create an F1, an F2, an F3. You don't have to complicate it. because Nick's is already serving food, right, with their beer and wine. So you can just adjust the F license, okay? If you had already acted on them, they'll already have an F license. You could adjust it as quickly as the next meeting. I'm sure the village attorney could draft something up very quickly for you to act on in 2 weeks. So I think all you really need to do is adjust the F. Nick's would still comply because they serve food and they serve beer and wine, and these guys would because they're going to do the same thing. So you don't have to create subcategories. The clerk is shaking her head because she's like, please don't create subcategories. So I think you'd be okay. I don't think, and I would say this, and Janie will probably back me up on this. There are businesses that come in. You don't have a lot here, but in the other towns I've served, and I'm sure Janie's seen it too, there are businesses that just want to serve beer and wine, or they just want to serve beer. They don't want to get into vodka and all the other spirits. So it's important to keep, I think, that license in play. You don't want people to have the ability to serve more alcohol than they actually want to serve. So we could do that very quickly if you gave direction to the village attorney tonight. He could have a ordinance on your next village board agenda to adjust the F license, as simple as that.
Okay, did you want to continue with these questions here?
We still have a ways to go before this is done, because
I understand it, but you guys asked about 6 questions. I'm not sure Mark got through all 6.
I think we're on that one.
well, Cameron answered 4 and 6. His was 1, 2, and 3, and yours was 5.
Correct.
Okay, so Mark's answered his.
Do you have any more questions for any of the 1 through how many were answered?
Thought we covered all the topics that were raised in numbers 1 through 4, but if there's any other questions, I'm certainly happy to try and answer them.
Well, you asked a question about me, about my vision, what have you. I would like the mayor and Janie to give us their vision and strategy for businesses related to liquor establishments. Boy, it sounds like we got an infirmary going here tonight.
I need to go home.
In our community's growth, and what consequences, if any, would there be to existing businesses and safety? First of all and foremost, I support economic development. This is filling a space that has been vacant for approximately 5 years. I support the opening of new restaurants in this town. Residents encourage me to support new restaurants on a weekly basis.
Thank you, though.
Competition is the American way. I expect that there will be new restaurants in our town that will complete with existing restaurants for customers. I believe competition is a good thing, very American. I do not expect safety problems from existing or new liquor establishments. We don't have a history of safety problems in Homer Glen relating to liquor licenses. We waited a year to see other communities experience if there was going to be social, economic, attached difficulties with it. We haven't heard any negatives about these type of shops. They cater towards a certain type of clientele. Certainly, I do not expect safety problems from a business like Dottie's that is age restricted and has a limit on the number of drinks that can be consumed. That's my answer to your question, Mike. I believe that, in conclusion, I believe that we are sending the absolute wrong message to the public, to the potential people that would come to Homer Glen and have to go through this. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea. I think that we can get them through on the F license with a special use permit that specifically states what they intend to do with the build out of that restaurant, that they are going to have the menus that they brought forward to us in their display at the last meeting, with the understanding between all parties involved that if they don't follow that, they will lose their special use permit, which will lead to the loss of their liquor license, and which would lead to the end of Dottie's in Homer Glen. So I think we're well protected on it, and if we go that route and you want to put more teeth, as we were talking earlier, a little more backbone in that F license, that you put more restrictions on it. We move it over at the time that we figured out what we want in addition to what's in F1, which is pretty general F1 right now. But you are protected through the special use permit to what they submit, if they don't follow it, we have the right to pull their special use permit because it was granted under the auspices of they were going to do this and they didn't do that.
I,
Trustee Yukich?
all right, I feel that right now we're trying to reinvent the wheel, which doesn't make any sense to me. F says that you do not have to do anything. To remake F, to redesign F to fit one establishment, when we already have.
Well, it won't be the last. It won't be the last. There's other people applying.
I understand it, but right now, there is only one before us. Everyone else is waiting in the wings to see what happens here. We have 15 liquor ordinances. We have a Class 1B, which now it was repealed. We have a Class C, which is a tavern, there's 0. We have a Class D, which is a package store with all alcohol, not just beer and wine. You have a Class E license, which is a temporary. You have a Class F license, which is a tavern. You have a Class G license, which is a package, but only beer and wine. You have a Class H license, which is clubs. Class I license, which is catering. J, which is special events. K, which is recreation. L, which is in liquor basket sales. M, which is in nightclubs. N, which is in a brewery pub. And O, which is a beauty salon spa. There are 0 in O, there are 0 in N, there are 0 in M, there are 0 in L, there are 0 in K, there are 0 in J, and there is 0 in Class E, which Class E is temporary, so that's not a problem. But we have so many liquor licenses here that it's ridiculous. We have 15 of them. We can eliminate at least half of them. And then we already have something that is in work, it's a work in progress. And it works pretty good. So I would say that if you wanted to do it to where it was an F license and work on it to tweak it to accommodate them, then I would say what we should do is we should go with a Class A or a Class B right now. They already have to follow the rules, and then from there, you see how it works, and then if you want to tweak something, tweak it, make it fit. But to put them in something, and this is an experiment, to me, is ridiculous when you already have something that's working very well. But that's my opinion.
Okay, well.
Just to point out that
Go ahead.
the A and the B licenses do allow spirit consumption, so that if you put them in an A or B license, they could serve vodka, bourbon.
What's wrong with
things like
that?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just making that point.
They don't have to serve it if they don't want to.
That's correct.
So it's not like we're shoving, all right, you gotta sell vodka.
That's correct.
You gotta sell whiskey. You only still have to serve beer and wine. But it fits what we have in our community now. I don't like the idea that we're making something new for someone that's coming in off the street, and I don't care who it is. Lucy, Stella's, any one of you guys that come in here. This community's been this way for 12 years. I like the way it is here. I think most of the residents like it the way it is here. So come in and do what everybody else has to do. That's all we're asking you.
The pitfall in A and B, so you understand, is it requires 60% of the total annual revenue mix be derived from the sale of food. Now,
Okay.
I can tell you right now, that's a very complicated way of compiling that information, number one. And number two, where you have a menu like this and you only have beer and wine, they will exceed 60% more than establishments in this town that have the A and B license that I guarantee you, if I looked into, do not meet the 60/40. And you're shaking your head down there, Mike. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, no, I agree with you 100%.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that I don't want to stick them in a category that is a 60/40 mix. They're looking for a beer and wine license. They're not looking for a full license. They are willing to go, they have to go through the special use permit process, which all liquor licenses do. We currently have an F license, which is at Nick's. So we're making them do something different than what we made Nick do.
No, we didn't make Nick do. Nick's a full-service restaurant. He can make anything there.
These guys are too.
No, they're not a full-service restaurant.
They're going to have a breakfast, lunch, and snack menu. Go ahead, Mike.
You know, I actually like the comment that was made earlier somewhat, and that's the second time I said that tonight. But someone made a comment, that if we do a special use, tweak F1, to put the food into it, Jim, okay, Mayor said it, and then with the understanding on the special use that, that you will go, to the tweaked or the revised one.
Yeah.
All right, I would like to say is, what about accepting an A1 let us tweak F1, and then with the understanding that you will then have an F1A, if we want to call it that. Because right now, without having food in there, no matter what we do, any business, and I'm not going to say the business in front of us, I'm going to use this as a generic term, any business can come in and say, well, no, I didn't know you were going to change the ordinance to read that. I'm not, so I would rather them say, okay, I'll accept the A1 now in this special use with the understanding is we're going to revisit F1, include the food, and then they would get the F1 license or an F1A, whatever determination we put on it, then that would be the license for them.
I guess we're chasing our tail here. We're saying the same thing in two separate ways. The special use permit protects the village. If they don't do what they came forward with the plan, we can pull their special use permit, which takes away their ability to have a liquor license. Instead, you're saying put it in the wrong category temporarily, and then fix the category that currently exists that one of our businesses in town actually has, which is Nick's. What I'm saying is, we're saying basically the same thing, but we have that category, and if you want to work on F, we're protected the whole time through the special use permit. Why would we put them in the wrong category and have to move them? Why wouldn't we just put them in a category with the understanding that we are working on F1 language, that they fully understand as we work on it, and it's going to be changed to not only beer and wine, but food. And instead of putting them in a category that has a food limitation, that you and I both know that there's plenty of businesses that operate that don't meet that. And it's all, and Mike, the other thing too, is it's almost impossible to calculate. You'd have to have an audit every year on all these businesses. And I'm not going to name any of them. I like all the businesses in town, but I'm also into filling a space that hasn't been filled in 5 years, that the owner of the building, this is a substantial contract to him that will lead to foot traffic in that mall, where you had the owner of the restaurant in that mall come in here also and say, I don't get it. I'm 100% in favor of it too. I went and talked with all the bar owners around town. They have no issue with this thing. So whatever way we end up with, I think we should give them a license and get on with it,
I agree, giving them a license. I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't think that putting them into an A1 is, and actually, I think we should be talking about this later on. We're actually supposed to be just going over the liquor ordinance and not specific to a business. But let's keep
it's a
it going,
workshop.
because it's part of it. I don't think putting them in A1 is putting them in the wrong ordinance, or, I think that's actually the closest thing that we have to what their business is. It is a restaurant. You actually said it a few minutes ago, that they are a restaurant. Now, the other thing that we don't have in our ordinance, and this is where I asked the question, the strengths and weaknesses of our ordinance compared to the changes that have been made in the state in the past year, is that we have the 60-40 rule in there that had never was that intended to use gaming money to be 60 or 40%.
Right.
That was strictly for food versus alcohol. So I feel, right now, I don't think we can compare with the amount of revenue you're generating from gaming into that 60-40 mix. I don't think it's fair to any business in this community, because it's not in our ordinance.
The video gaming, when we did our liquor ordinances, did not exist.
Exactly.
So you're absolutely correct with that. All I'm saying is that whatever way you want to skin this cat, you're well protected by the special use permit, or you do some other liquor license, and you continue to review and eliminate certain liquor licenses that aren't necessary. As Trustee Yukich said, we have quite a few of them, and we fill a spot. We get another business in town, a lot more foot traffic, and the landlord gets to have a nice contract and bring some sales tax dollars to Homer Glen. So I think
Mayor, can
the
I
three
just
of us have talked it to death.
One final question. Would it be okay to ask the petitioner, because what you're talking about tonight is, making some adjustments. actually some light adjustments actually, which aren't, I don't think, going to take too much time. The reality is this particular petitioner, while they may, if you approve their plan, they may begin work very quickly. They won't be open as an establishment for, I think, quite some time. They may be able to tell you better than me. So the chances are is that you'll have made changes, the changes that you want to make to the liquor license before they are ever serving liquor. So I think maybe you could ask them how long it will take.
But minus giving them some form of liquor license, they can't apply for
That's right.
a gaming license.
You have to do that. Well, that's what they want, absolutely. But my point is, you'll have time between when you award the license and when they're actually serving alcohol, plenty of time to make these changes, because that's not going to happen for
Can we
quite some
legally,
time.
asking legal counsel,
You can sit back up now.
Thank you.
Can we legally do that? I'm going to give out a situation here. What I am willing to support tonight is an A1 license, is an A license, with the understanding that we are going, and again, I agree with, again, third time tonight, that we should revisit F and say, because that is probably the best suited license for the alcohol they want to send.
Right, F with food.
With food, but at
Right.
least with the A1 I would support, and put it in the special use or New York, something that we're gonna revisit F, and that's the license that they would end up with.
And
This
then
way,
we-
they're
and then
not-
you would-
This way, they're actually going down.
And then you would issue
rather than-
another, and then you would take back the A1 license.
And issue an
Once
F.
we got the F license ordinance, the F
Right.
license fixed.
Right.
And then they would take an F license and give up the A1 license.
Right, rather than putting
Okay.
everything in special uses and yada, yada, just give them a license, let's get F the
Right,
way it
well-
should be to suit the businesses that can be coming in, and then that's what.
Okay,
what
well,
Deep Freeze kind of
both
saying.
the applicant,
Dottie's,
It's a side
both the applicant and his attorney are here, so let them step up and tell us.
why don't you go up to the microphone and answer some questions?
I'm sorry, I was talking to Janie. I did not hear the last question.
So the question is that, as I understand the comment from trustee Costa, is that the board would be willing to give you the A license now so that you could initiate the gaming application process with the state of Illinois, sign your lease, et cetera. Understanding that the board is going to revise the F license classification, which is the beer and wine classification, to make food a component of that, which
Right.
is what you've represented.
Absolutely.
And then we would issue, the village would pass an ordinance issuing the new F license to you, and you would turn in your A license.
Sure, yeah, we had no problem with any of that. I mean, my only question is I hear the 60/40. Is that an overall, right, 60%? Or are we going back to saying just food over alcohol? Because
Yeah.
quite honestly, I mean, our food outsells any alcoholic beverages by a factor of 4 or 6 to 1 easily.
Yeah, I figured that one out easy. Your clientele is not there to, drink.
Right.
They're going to have a little snack, maybe a glass of wine, and play some video gaming. But the 60/40 would apply because I'm not the attorney, but this is the way I view it. We did not have video gaming back at the time that our ordinances were created. Our ordinances were adopted from Will County's ordinances. They mirror them pretty much in some ways. So these ordinances, liquor ordinance, these 60/40 requirements didn't take into consideration gaming because it didn't exist. Is everybody pretty comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, I have some questions.
Go right ahead, Margaret.
What is being suggested here is that they come in as an A. Okay, there's a lot to define as an A, okay? And then we're reducing this to an F and to make them serve food. There isn't any stipulation as to here that they would be a full-service restaurant. A is a full-service restaurant. To me, it looks like they end up with exactly what they had asked for in the first place. I don't think that they're going to not come, that they're going to do, abuse the special use. I don't think there's any reason that they would do that. They want to stay in business. But I don't see this as an answer to start with an A, where they have to have a full-service kitchen, and then to go to an F, what kind of food are they serving? Are they going to still have a full-service kitchen?
Yes.
I mean,
That's
We're gonna take the food requirements from the A license and put it into the F classification.
And possibly
okay,
modify-
so what is the requirement for a full-service kitchen? I would really like to know
They're
all
actu-
that detail first.
Yeah, I don't believe the term full-service kitchen exists anywhere in your liquor license. It talks about adequate kitchen, it talks about adequate and sanitary kitchen. So I know a lot of people have used the term full-service, I'm not sure where that came from, maybe that was,
Well, what is the term then?
it is adequate, and
Yeah,
sanitary.
there's no full
In the
kitchen.
actual definition of restaurant, it says adequate and sanitary.
Well, that should be any restaurant.
It's pretty.
Well, where is it
that's-
written in here?
Their definition of restaurant is the A license. It's on page 3 of 39. So, I'm not, on the county level, when they come to do inspections with restaurants, every county is a little bit different, but here in Will County, when they come to do inspections, they don't rate it by full. They don't use that term full. They have different categories, 3 or 4? 3 categories. And it depends upon how much preparation, how much, maybe a fast food restaurant, they get all their food in and all they do is warm it up. That's one category. A restaurant where raw chicken comes in and it's all diced up and prepared, from A to Z, that's a different category. But full service isn't part of their lingo either. So I'm assuming since so much of your original liquor license came from the county, that's the reason why, because that's not how the county handles restaurants. They don't use that term full service.
Okay, well, all right, what equipment do they have to have? I mean, we look at mullets, we look at,
They're right there.
the Purple Onion.
But there's
If I
no
could just
requirement in the
Go
ordinance
You're
ahead.
not going to.
about full
you're not-
service
you're
or
not-
equipment.
You don't want to get into a
There's
situation where you're writing an ordinance that is dealing specifically with them. So I have other samples, other ordinances liquor ordinances that we've prepared about food and about it being prepared on the premises. So what I'm going to do, and your liquor ordinance does need a rewrite, is to prepare a draft of an ordinance dealing with this issue so that it's specifically addressed.
Okay, trustee Costa?
Yeah, do it, and then I know trustee Sabo probably has more to, questions, but, and again, right, the county would pretty much dictate what is required based on the food preparation and what they're gonna serve there. So for us to put an ordinance, I don't know that we can even do that, because
Yeah,
county
they'll-
health department is the one that would.
Yeah, the health department will be the
Yeah,
one,
So
right.
that's, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, trustee Sabo, did you have any further questions?
I don't know, it's just so open-ended. To me, it's very open-ended at this time. And you're assuming that when this ordinance is, liquor ordinance is adjusted, the Dotties will agree to it. At this time, we do not know that.
Well, then it's very simple. You have to have a special use permit in order to get a liquor license. And if they don't abide by the, F1, which we said what we're going to do is we're going to add food to it. It says beer and wine. We're going to add food to it. Then you pull the special use permit, and they don't get a license. And they're standing in front of you telling you that they're going to do it. So I guess the risk is on them. Once you modify the F license and move them to the proper category, that's that. I mean, you are protected through the special use permit process, all the way. Anyway, trustee DeVivo?
I'd like to make a comment. I agree with what you're saying. As a member of the Plan Commission for 4 years, I'm definitely a proponent of a special use permit. You really write it, design it, how it affects and how it applies to a specific business. So I think that that's our protection. And this liquor license definitely needs to be rewritten. It doesn't.
We, in fairness to everybody here, I mean, the liquor license has to be reviewed and modified and updated and everything, but so does everything. I mean, this village is only 12 years old. I mean, we're working with 10 full-time staff members, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, but we are getting some of the nicer things for this village accomplished. Look at all the storefronts that are starting to fill up. Look at the Myers over here, largest Myers in the southwest suburbs. This is just going to add foot traffic to a depressed commercial development in which the one of maybe 3 or 4 nicer topper end restaurants is saying, I don't care. She was here last weekend in public comment. So I think what we do, we issue them a license with the understanding we have the village attorney draft the agreement between these gentlemen that tie their feet to the fire, and we work on the liquor ordinances as we move forward. And then when we're complete with the liquor ordinances, we move them into the proper category, which I hear that F is the proper category for them, but it doesn't have enough teeth in it, if that's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a comment
Trustee Suisse?
for the attorney.
Go right
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
On square footage for Class F, like say if you do put food in, can we adjust square footage so it doesn't look like all these storefronts are?
I'm sorry, just want to get a copy of the liquor ordinance for trustee.
It's on H4, where you just, it's on our H4. It says has leased a 1350 square foot of space. I says so it doesn't look like we have all these storefronts popping up on Bell all over. Can't we adjust and have a minimum square footage, say on H, on F, if we're gonna stay on F?
Yes, what page are you reading from?
Page 1 of H4.
She's looking at the agenda supplement sheet,
H4,
not the actual ordinance.
where they said they have leased 1350 square feet. Because I would rather have Nick's go into a or B and just eliminate an F if you're going to just stay with a small storefront. I would rather have a larger space, something that looks bigger, similar to a restaurant.
Yes, you could,
And I think we
You can
should put
impose
in a
whatever-
minimum square footage or a plan like that.
right, you can impose almost any requirement that you want.
The only thing you have to remember, Trustee Suisse, is this location is that square footage. So.
Well, maybe there's another space next to it, or something that looks bigger.
Well, I don't agree with that, but the liquor license ordinance needs a facelift, and we're going to do that. And I suggest, if everybody's satisfied with this, that we issue them an A license. We have the village attorney draw up the paperwork that they'll have to sign, that at the proper time, we're going to move them to the proper category once it is tweaked a bit, which will be the F license. And they'll have to comply with the F license, which generally speaking is going to be just adding food. Is that suffice enough to say?
And you're representing to the village board tonight that you're amenable to turning in the A license and taking the F license when the F license is approved?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll, if everybody's in agreement here, then I would conclude the workshop.
Mayor,
I
Mayor,
would
one
like
final
to-
thing, just from a staff perspective. I just want to say this out loud so we're clear. The board would like the village attorney to look at the entirety of the ordinance,
Yes.
correct? Because there are portions of the ordinance that were actually done for the transition. So there's actually pages, if you look at it, where it says, in the county it was this, and now in the village it's going to be this. So chances are the attorney will pull out a lot of that language
Okay.
and simplify it. So that's
We're-
everybody's understanding.
We're going to clean the whole thing up.
Great,
We
thank
get that.
Can I
I
ask,
like
Trustee
to.
DeVivo?
just one quick question. In the actual ordinance, under section 6, page 10, under O, the clarification of this, any elected public official, Homer Glen officer, so is this saying that no elected official, even if they're elected official in some other municipality, cannot get a liquor license in Homer Glen? Is that what that says, or am I not
You'd
reading
have
that
to ask the
correctly?
attorney if that's.
Now, if you're an elected official in Homer Glen,
Okay,
you can't have a
it
liquor license.
probably should be reworded a little bit then if it's really confusing.
Okay, is that in your, that's in your
That's
liquor
actually-
ordinance? That's
yeah.
in the master ordinance,
Okay,
right?
Can I
Yes.
make a suggestion?
Go ahead, Trustee Yukich.
I'm hoping that everyone's in agreement with what we want to do here. we can talk about the only reason this was brought forward is so we can address Dottie's. So how about if we just kind of let this thing go, let's get this rolling, and set up one meeting just for this, to get this thing dialed in, and that way it'll make the process a lot easier.
Well, we have to get the recommendations from the village attorney and from staff, from how other communities' liquor licenses look,
Yeah.
you know, how they're clean and tight and what have you. And this, by doing this gets these guys going. They've agreed, he can do the paperwork, they've agreed to sign the paperwork. At that point in time, you know, we'll move them to the proper category.
Right, but this way we can also discuss it
Yes,
as a board.
we'll get the whole liquor license going.
You can do this, you could pass all these ordinances tonight. If you take the ordinance assigning the available Class F license ordinance and just change it to A wherever it appears. So you could pass that, you could pass these series of ordinances tonight, and then we'll prepare the ordinance amending the Class F ordinance and get that out to camp for.
But if we do that, we screw up Nick's, so I would rather not do that. Nick's is enough right now. Why do we need to go to Nick's and change it? If we're gonna work on this.
You're not, because Nick's will, from what everybody has said about
He
Nick's
serves
tonight,
food.
he's
Yeah.
gonna meet,
Correct.
he's gonna meet the same threshold.
But the problem with that, now you also changed liquor license wise to where it costs them more money, where that's already existing. We don't have to mess with it.
Well, we
Leave
could,
F alone.
but here's the deal that you can do, Trustee Yukich, is we're dealing with one subject matter here tonight, in essence,
Right.
Dottie's.
Correct.
I'm calling for a total review of the entire liquor license application, fees, do we need 15 liquor licenses? But we can address that at a different time. We get these guys going.
That's
Okay.
exactly what I'm trying to say.
Good, cool.
Let's get the ball rolling here.
Okay. Now, is there any other comments before we
Yes,
close workshop? Go ahead, Trustee Sabo.
Okay. Now, this is the only business applicant who has gone through a special use. So, there are others that are interested. I think we should wait until we get this done, until we see what this A to F is going to look like, before we start looking at any of the other applicants.
No, you're not looking at any other applicants. What you're doing is you're giving them an A license by adopting the ordinances. You would be giving them an A license tonight. We would revise the requirements for an F license. You would amend that portion of the liquor code to deal with the F license.
As we're
And
going
then
through the whole thing.
They would turn in the A license and accept an F license.
Okay,
And
but-
that has no impact on Nick's, because
No,
Nick's.
no, she's not explaining the next
But
one.
I'm just going on saying that has no impact on Nick's, because Nick's would already meets the criteria for the new F definition.
Now, I'm talking about
If-
other people.
Right, if
other-
Lucy's comes in, Stella's comes in.
Other interested parties
Well,
who would like to come into
I-
Homer Glen. I just feel that this should be fixed first before we accept or look at any others.
Right,
So-
before you look at any others.
So ju-
Before
ju-
we look at
just to
any others,
mention real
before
quick,
they apply.
You have,
Yeah.
the mayor received, he was away down in Florida on Friday, so we received our request from Megaplex on Friday for a liquor license. We're expecting one from Tea Time because they have expressed that they will have it to us shortly. And then, of course, we expect Myers to come in any time now. Those are the 3 liquor licenses that we're aware are have already, requests that have either already arrived in the Megaplex one, or we expect them in the next, week or so. So that's just to let you know.
It
So what are you
doesn't,
really saying?
You have one that just arrived, a request, and the ordinance says that the mayor is to process them in 60 days, so we try to live by that. We try to get it through the system in 60 days. So you have one that arrived, Megaplex, and Tea Times is coming, and so is Meyer. Those are the 3 that I'm aware of. Are you aware of? Oh, and you might have one for the salon next door, because they just started their remodeling today. So you might have that coming in too.
so what we're doing is, we're not shutting people down that fit a category that makes a lot of sense. We're adjusting an F category while we review the whole liquor ordinance. I'm not going to stop or discourage people from coming forward and saying they would like to open an establishment that needs a liquor license. Crying out loud, nobody will even come to this town.
No, and here's what I'm getting at. We know of a lot of other towns who have passed video gaming. And at this time, I mean, it's well known that they are looking, and I'm looking to the future here, that they are looking for ways to say how they can control this.
They all control it through their liquor license. Once you issue a liquor license, if you adopted video gaming for your community and you issue a liquor license, that party can then go to the state and apply for a gaming license. There's two things you can do. You can rescind, if you had video gaming, you can rescind it, or you can control it through a liquor license.
Okay, tell me how that process is possible, to control it through liquor license. We know that is the case. So please tell me how that...
You don't issue one.
Well, give me an example of...
I'll give you a perfect example. In our community, as some of the board members have stated, and some of the public has stated, we don't want to see what do you call it, storefront after storefront after storefront with places that have video gaming. So applicants come in on an individual basis, and I did have this discussion with the village attorney earlier today. Under a planning issue, the general planning for the area, you could say that the use, it's an overuse in a certain area, and therefore not issue a liquor license based on a planning issue, not on discrimination, not on any other issue besides there is too much, there's more than we need in one strip mall for that use. Just like you would say, you wouldn't have 7 cleaning outfits in the same strip mall, side by side by side by side. It'd be an overuse in the area. And if you were going to work with somebody on that issue, you would probably try to show them other locations that have vacant spots that are not on top of other video gaming holders, liquor license holders with video gaming.
Well, that's fine. Planning is wonderful. It's a smart thing to do. You don't want to have too much competition in one place for the same thing.
Well, they won't last either.
No.
They won't all last. If you were to try to put a place after place alongside each other, it wouldn't last.
Okay, but what I see in other towns are endless requests for liquor licenses. Endless requests for liquor licenses with the purpose of video gaming. That is what's happening in other communities. We can talk about that because it's in the paper. So,
do you believe everything in the paper?
How do we control that if that happens here?
Do not issue the liquor license.
Just to them.
Through the legislative process. You don't, the issuance of liquor licenses in your town, like most other suburbs, as I stated earlier tonight, is through adoption of an ordinance increasing the number of liquor licenses. So if you don't want video gaming, don't increase the number of liquor licenses. It's simple.
Well, it sounds simple, but then there's another
it's
side.
because it is simple.
Well, then there's another side to it. And that's if you say no to this one, but you said yes to that one.
Right.
Then where does that put the village?
It could be in a difficult
Litigation,
situation.
probably.
Right.
Well, I'm
So
trying to look down the
so-
road so that we avoid things like that.
Right, so, and the way, and possibly the way to do that is through the special use permit process.
And through proper planning. You just don't allow saturation after saturation in a certain area of these licenses. And you don't go down the road of it's a discriminatory type of action. You go down the road that it exists in the strip mall. We don't want that type of concentration. It's not good planning, and therefore we don't issue a special use permit. Totally legitimate for a village to do their planning, and that's how you would handle that situation.
Right, and there is no problem with saying, yes, we're gonna give a license to this company, we're gonna deny a license to another company, depending upon the location. But there has to be some type of justifiable, valid basis for doing that. And it can't be, well, like, we like these guys, but we don't like these people personally. You have to be able to set forth some objective criteria for that decision.
Well,
Okay.
that's true, but I've only heard this one thing, it's location. No, so what else is a reason to deny?
That's what we're gonna talk about when we work on the license.
Right.
When we work on the ordinance, those
Yeah.
are, those are the things we can bring
Yeah.
up.
Okay,
Gives
are
us all
there,
time to think about it.
are there any further statements for the workshop? All right, therefore I close the workshop. Would everybody like to recess to be able to use, get a drink of water, washroom possibly? How about before we go to legislation, we take a 5-minute recess? We'll be back in a few minutes. I'd like a motion to call this meeting back to order.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by trustee Yukich. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The village board is back in session. Okay, after all that, let's see, or where am I at? The next portion of this meeting is legislation and action items. This would be H1. Is there a motion to approve mayor and village board SOP number 10 entitled Village of Homer Glen Park or Facility Property Naming Policy?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be H2. Is there a motion to authorize the village manager to petition the Plan Commission to initiate a text amendment that would amend the sign regulations in regards to automobile service stations?
So moved.
First by
Second.
trustee Costa, second by trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure, shoot away.
Pardon me?
Go right ahead.
Okay. On page 2, there's a chart, and it says, names of municipalities, and it says separate sign guidelines for service stations. It really doesn't give us any indication of what their guidelines are. And I think that's very important when presenting to the board that we do know that, because it looks like that it favors the direction of this recommendation. So I would just like to say in the future, you know, if we're naming towns, we need to know what their guidelines are, because Plan Commission should know that also. And in this particular case, what particularly are they looking for in signage?
Well, I'll answer your first question. On page 2, it lists how Frankfurt handles it. If we change to yes, the only one between Frankfurt, Homer Glen, Lamont, Lockport, New Lenox, Orland Park, and Tinley Park, the only one that currently hasn't amended their ordinance is Lamont. That's on page 2 of your report
No,
here.
well, what I'm saying about that is that we don't know the details about what their guidelines really are for service stations. We don't know.
Well, with that
just
being
by
on
the
the,
chart.
well, with that being on the agenda, I think you should, if you have those type of questions, contact the village manager prior to a village board meeting and ask them, you know, what, I don't see where, I see the vote, but I don't see their sign ordinance or whatever you would like.
Well,
Mayor,
I
Aaron
think-
would be happy to address your
Well,
question.
I don't want to contact you before the meeting. I would like to have it specified here so that we know, the whole board knows, what the details are.
Okay,
so-
Margaret, they'll do it forward. Moving forward, they'll do it. Cam just told you it's no problem.
What I just mentioned a minute ago is Aaron would be happy to talk just briefly about it to try to let you understand. And we hear your point on that. We do. Go ahead.
Sure, we'll be providing those details in full detail to the Plan Commission. The point of the small chart is just some communities address it in just small detail, some communities address it in full detail. The small point of that chart was just to state that most communities do have even just a small section that addresses gas station and service station and auto dealership
Separately, yeah.
signage separately in their ordinance.
Okay.
When the Plan Commission was looking at the petition that was before them from Speedway, they said, you know, we're really uncomfortable just dealing with Speedway because we have obviously other gas station brands in the community. Now we have Citgo just joining our brand. is that we want to look at the ordinance as a whole and create a new category for gas stations instead of dealing with the gas stations one at a time piecemeal. So that's kind of what this is about. And what the Plan Commission is actually asking you guys is for permission to do that. That's what this motion is about. And then there'll be all sorts of information that will come back to you, maybe even in a workshop session, before you make an ultimate decision, and a recommendation from the Plan Commission.
Well, one of the things in the past with the sign ordinance, this goes back a few years, was that gas stations wanted more signage. And the concern with that particular sign committee at the time was clutter. So, and this is of course is something that we should be considering also.
Right.
Okay. Any further comments there, Trustee Sabo?
No, thank you.
Okay, do we have a first and second on that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be H3. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-055, an ordinance requiring a permit for the open burning of leaves in the village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
First by Trustee Yukich.
I second.
Second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Yukich, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. What we're trying to do here, so we don't know who's pro, who's against it, you know, in the audience right now and out there in the TV. We don't have anything to offer anyone that has the leaves to get rid of them right now. We know it's an issue on both sides. People with the large lots have a hard time getting rid of the leaves. People with the small lots, it's not an issue. They can put it in a blue dumpster. But the biggest thing for the opposition is health, and it is a health issue. I was coming here today and someone was burning in DeBoer Woods. I don't know where they were burning, but you couldn't see across South Bell Road real good. So that's what our issue is. We're trying to get it to where people are educated on how to do this. There is a certain way to burn. There is an ordinance that's in effect right now that basically does cover everything that we need. The reason we want to permit it is we want to see where the permits are being pulled from to see who is burning. Not so much a person, but where are you burning? So the ordinance right now is basically, as far as we can see, a good one. Does it need to be tweaked? Yes, it does. But we have to start somewhere. So this way, the people that want to burn can come in, they can pull a permit, they sign it, they get a sheet that'll explain the rules and regulations of the ordinance. They have to follow it. If they don't follow it, there are fines on it. The fines range anywhere from $100 to $750. If someone is called out to a fire, it's a fire department. The reason the fine is there, it helps pay for the fire department. If the people are burning correctly, there is no fine. If they have a permit, there is no fine. All we're trying to do is make it best for everybody in the village, and we're trying to start it off this way. I know there's a lot of residents that are upset with us because we don't ban it, but I figure this way, let's take a look, see how it does work. If it doesn't work or if there's issues, we will make changes. And other than that, this is just baby steps right now. We're trying to get this working.
Okay, Trustee Costa?
Also, if we can keep in mind that we've had this ordinance, we've had an ordinance in effect for quite a while. What this does is it changes just a few things. One of them is getting the permit. It was still a nuisance ordinance. It still had restrictions on the distance from structures, when to burn, the size of your fire. So we didn't change a lot of this. What we did add was the permit. And also keep in mind, I mean, the committee did look at a number of things. One of the issues that we looked at was, if you want to call it a mass leaf pickup, in areas where the totes would be extremely difficult and you're filling up 100 of them. You know, we have residents that come in and said, I've got 240 trees on my property. How many totes do I need? So this is also data that we trying to gather, again, what Trustee Yukich said, where are we burning? Where is the concentration of the burning in the area? And it gives us a little bit more data. It gives us any data and also gives us time to look at possibly in the future revisiting this and looking for leaf pickup for lots that are extremely large and have a lot of leaves. So this really is, if you want to say phase one, like Trustee Yukich said, it's the beginning. It's nothing new to this community, but what we need to do as a board, we have got to get this out in the paper and on the website or mailer, whatever it takes, because education has probably been our biggest downfall in a community in ordinances such as this. A lot of people come into our meeting and say, well, I didn't know you had an ordinance already. Or I didn't know I can't do this or can do this. So we do need to get the word out to people. It's going to be somewhat of a learning curve to the people, the residents that have been here 30, 35 years and burning without getting a permit. More than likely, they've been burning properly, and there's not an issue. But at least now they come and get a permit, we can see who's burning, what areas are concentrated burning areas, and also they will have the rules, the regulations, and the ordinance in hand. But we need to get it out that someone, that you have to come in for the permit. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Just one more, I'm sorry.
As far as the ordinance, getting a permit and what have you, I am going to instruct our code enforcer to be very lenient with the warning tickets, and if a fire's in the wrong position, in the wrong place, of course, put it out. But with the fact that we have not had a permit process in place ever in the Village of Homer Glen, I am going to instruct John to work with the community as this takes place. If it's, as I go back to saying, if it's within the setback requirement of our existing ordinance, it'll be put out. But I think a lot of people here in the community have burned their leaves the same way since it was Homer Township and Will County before that. And it is a learning curve. If you're going to have to come in and get a permit, it's not because we're looking for money. It's for identifying where these pockets are of people that on a regular basis burn during certain seasons. And it also helps the fire department identify these areas so they know pretty much this goes on certain times of year all the time. So, Trustee
Just one
Yukich.
other thing. And as this board, we have told the residents come in here that have a problem with the burning, that if the smoke is interfering, it's too thick, they're burning stuff that they shouldn't burn, we have told them to call the police. That's exactly what we want them to do. If it is a nuisance fire, or if something's out of hand, someone's not manning the fire, we want them to call the police, because God forbid something does happen and catches on fire, then we have a bigger issue. So, one gentleman was saying about a neighbor calling someone, we have told that person, we have told everyone that's come before us, anyone that's called us, call the police. If you are not burning correctly, call the police. The police will come over, the fire department will come over, and they will tell you whether or not you are. But right now, why take the chance? Especially, you've got health issues that all these people have to deal with that don't burn. So we're trying to make this the best thing we can. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further comment?
Mayor, it might not hurt to, I'm not sure if anyone mentioned it or not. If you did, I'm sorry, but the permit is free. We
Yeah,
probably can't
it
say
was-
that enough. The
it was
permit is
mentioned.
free.
Yep. Any further comment?
Just
There
one
is-
question, just for
Trustee
clarification.
K. Janis, go
If I
ahead.
may, Mr. Mayor, just a quick question, if I could ask Trustee Cluster or Trustee Yukich. On page 4 of 6, on the very top, 307.4.2, top of page 4, 307.4.2 on the recreational fires. It seems like there's a lot of information contained in this on different situations. In a nutshell, barbecue grills, rotisseries, talk to me about that, because I'm reading this, every time I read it two different ways, every time. Could you please just kind of clarify and explain that? Some of the, it seems like there's some run-on words there or sentences. If you could please help me with that
The
one.
reason why Trustee K. Janis is forwarding his question to Trustee Yukich or Trustee Costa is they are the co-chairs of the safety committee that their committee made these recommendations.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and again, what it's telling you there, look at the, I think if you look, and I'm just reading it too, because no matter how many times you read this, you're bringing up a question. I'm thinking what we do is if you look at that last sentence there, it says, conditions which could cause a fire to spread within 25 feet of a structure shall be eliminated prior to ignition. So if you read that first and go up there, it says that the recreational fires, and again, we want the residents to know, recreational fires do not fall under this. If you have a little bonfire in your backyard with your neighbors, your friends, your kids, that's not leaves. That's not a permitted, you just have to follow the guidelines on how many feet away from structures. So what this is saying, that your recreational fires, or an outdoor fire burning material other than rubbish, so outdoor fireplaces, barbecue grills, barbecue pits, and it has a total fuel area of 3 foot or less in diameter and 2 foot high. If you read the rest of that ordinance, it kind of goes back and forth, the size of the fire you can have, and when you need a permit, when you can't, what you can and can't do, and how many feet from structures. And again, it goes into religious, ceremonial, cooking. So if you look at that, it's basically saying that your recreational fire should not be conducted within 25 feet of that. And, closer than that. The way I'm reading this is these other things, your pits and your barbecue grills do not fall into that. But if it does, you have to remove anything that's combustible. And if the attorney can read that, and if I'm saying that wrong, please help me out here, because again, this is part of the ordinance that was all in there for a long time.
Right.
And this
I
also,
read the ordinance and revised it.
Okay.
and this also has nothing to do with recreational fires. This is strictly leaf permit.
Right.
Recreational
Right.
fires are still fine.
Okay.
Does
Well,
that,
no, I'm-
whatever that is.
Does that answer your question, trustee K. Janice?
It does, thank you.
It's
I
a
appreciate it.
hard one, again, because, sometimes, again, I've said, the ordinances are written by lawyers for judges to understand, and sometimes we try to get a clarification as we're going over them again.
So I
Thank
could
you
still
thank you very
roast my
much.
lamb, right,
Go
on
ahead.
Easter? Okay.
Thank you very much, but actually, the ordinance was written by Joe, and I just made some plain English revisions to it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call
I
the roll.
have a question.
Okay, trustee Sabo, go right ahead.
All right. Well, we mentioned that this is a health issue. I mean, we know burning and smoke, especially smoke, is the health issue. What about people with health problems, that they're living near somebody who is burning? And you got a 6-month permit. Is there something that can be done for those people with the health issue? I mean, whether there's smoke, or whether there's not smoke, there's still I'd just like you to address that, because we know that there are a lot of people that are susceptible to smoke, and lung problems and other respiratory ailments.
Yes, and if you read into the ordinance, there's actually a section, and let me find it here, that's
Page.
pretty much, and again, let me find this because it's large. Basically says that even if you're following the guidelines of the ordinance, but it's a nuisance or anything to you, and you call on it, that's what you can do. So it always comes into the part, and again, I apologize, I don't know it upside down and backwards, but the one section that says, or anything that is a nuisance will be extinguished. So if I call on a neighbor that even they're 50 feet away, and the smoke is coming into my house, and it's a health risk to me, it's because I'm sickly or whatever, and I call, even if they're within compliance of the ordinance, that they would need to extinguish it because they've been called and said that it is harming somebody called and said, and again, I believe that if somebody goes and looks at it and the smoke is blowing straight up or away from that house, I would think there has to be some guidance or guidelines that our fire department would say. Okay, page 2. Right. That's where it tells you that even if it is
Third paragraph.
the third paragraph, even if it's a nuisance, if it's a threat to health and safety and welfare of members of the public, you can still call, but you can call because it is coming toward your house, and it is bothering your health right there.
And
Okay.
that's why they put a 2-hour window in there too, to notify all the neighbors, because this way, at least if you have a kid with asthma, or you have asthma, or you have someone on oxygen, you're giving them a warning that you are going to be burning. So from there, they try to make whatever arrangements they need to make, or if it's too windy, then the people that want to burn can't burn.
And that's why the wind limitations are in the ordinance.
Okay. Does that answer your question, trustee
Well, I
Sabo?
just wanted to make sure that those with
Okay.
respiratory problems had rights.
Okay. All right, there was a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be H4. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-054, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a special use to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages in a C3 zoning district, Illinois Cafe and Service Company, LLC DBA Dottie's Cafe, for the property commonly known as 14041 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Is there any further discussion?
I have one
Trustee
question.
Trustee
I
Costa?
have one question. This is actually for legal counsel.
Go ahead.
Since this was tabled at the last minute, don't we need to pull it off the table in order to vote? I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that
you
our
know what?
procedure
It's
is
fine.
right.
Why don't we do this?
Okay.
Why don't you just make a motion to take H4, 5, and 6 off the table?
Okay, so moved.
Okay, trustee Costa, for the record, is taking moves to take H4, 5, and 6 off of the table. Is there a second?
Aye.
Second by trustee Yukich.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now I'll redo the motion. Is there a motion, let's see here, this would be H4. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-054, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a special use to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages in a C3 zoning district to Illinois Cafe and Service Company, LLC, DBA Dottie's Cafe, for the property commonly known as 14041 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Are there any final comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Okay,
Trustee Suisse?
No.
motion, well, hold on, do I have to vote now? 4-2, no. So, motion carries 4-2. This would be I-5, or H5, excuse me. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-046, an ordinance amending section 13 of ordinance number 01-022, providing for the control of alcoholic liquor within the village of Homer Glen? It is understood that the number of Class A liquor license will increase from, well, we need to change it, how many?
2 to 3.
2 to 3 within the village of Homer Glen.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, is there just a acknowledgement that the appropriate changes would be made to the ordinance by council and myself based
Okay.
on your discussion tonight?
Yes.
Just want to
I
make sure
just
that's
had
on
a
the
question
record.
about the motion. You said from 2 to 3?
Yes, because we're moving from an F license to an A license. And that's what currently exists.
4 now.
I said-
2 As moving to a 3.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Trustee Suisse?
No.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be H6. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-047, an ordinance assigning an available Class A liquor license to Illinois Cafe and Service Company, LLC, DBA Dottie's, located at 14041 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, contingent upon Dottie's obtaining their occupancy permit from the village?
So moved.
First by trustee K. Janice, second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Trustee Suisse?
No.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, congratulations, guys. You need to work with the village attorney. He'll get to you with the proper contract that shows you go from one license to the other at the proper time. End of story. Okay. There is no need for an executive session here tonight, as it's getting a little late, and I can bring you up to speed on what I was going to have it on anyway, individually. I'll give you a call, no big deal.
One thing that I would like on it too, though, I would would like to see the contract of what is going to be for the A.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a standard A as we're moving for, fixing the F license.
Okay.
The license will be done ordinance will be done and passed long before they open for business.
Maybe.
Okay, is there any old business? Is there any new business? There is no executive session tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by trustee Yukich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Meeting adjourned.